I don't have anything against Arabs. I don't have anything against Muslims.
Yeah. As a teenager, I was on a bus and going to school, and some children from another school, as they got off the bus, they were all shouting, Yid, 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 Yid.
I don't think I've ever been out with a Jewish boy, but I...
Welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Arnaud from France, and in today's video we're asking Jewish people what it's like to be Jewish in the UK, how they feel being Jewish here, what the differences of habits, culture as well. So hopefully it's going to be interesting for you guys. As usual, guys, you can follow me on Instagram just right here, and you can comment, like the video as well. And yeah, let's do it. Can you introduce yourself, like what's your background and where are you from, first of all?
Okay, well, I was born in Hampstead in London, where I lived for the first sort of 25 years of my life. I then moved to Bushey in Hertfordshire, and then I got divorced and came to live in Brighton. I always considered myself to be Jewish.
Yeah.
Officially, I'm not, because my father was Jewish, but my mother wasn't.
Okay.
So according to the religion, I'm not strictly Jewish. But because I converted to marry my first wife, she was Jewish and I had to get married in a synagogue. Therefore, I am...
You embrace that religion, you embrace that faith.
Yeah, and I've always stayed in the faith, basically.
And like, which kind of Jew are you? You're like Ashkenaz? I don't know exactly how to pronounce them.
Ashkenazi, no, I don't know what I am. My grandfather came from Kiev in the Ukraine originally. He and his friend, because it was the pogroms at the end of the last century, in the about 1895 he came over and he was on his way to America. And him and his friend saved up the money and they got on a ship and came going to America, but it stopped in London. Okay. And they could not speak English, they couldn't read English, and they just assumed that they had arrived in America because it was a big city, and they thought they were in New York. And they got off the boat, and his name was Medovi, and when he got to immigration they said, name, and he said Medove. The guy must have been from Kent, because that's where the River Medway runs, and he just wrote down Medway. So since then we've all been Medways. He never realised he was not in America for about 3 days. By that time the boat had gone and he was stuck in... So here I am, I'm English instead of being in America.
So what is like, being Jewish in the UK for you? Like, how do you feel about that, being Jewish here?
I mean, I feel fine about it. I mean, I'm proud to be Jewish. Yeah. I'm very pro-Israel and always will be. And I always support Jews wherever they are. Okay. Someone says something about Jews, I will react.
You stand up for them?
Oh yes, very much so.
And for example, when you are telling people in the UK that you are Jewish, what's their reaction, How they react?
Never found any reaction. I mean, it's been more difficult in the past 18 months since October the 7th, where everyone's been going Palestine, Palestine, Palestine. These people who killed 1,700 innocent people enjoying themselves at a party, like all these people here today, all of a sudden a gunman can jump up and shoot everybody and say it's for Palestine. I don't have anything against Arabs, I don't have anything against Muslims. Yeah. The Muslim religion is a religion of peace. So why are all these idiots going around with guns and bombs and killing people? I've never had anyone say anything bad to me personally about being Jewish. Okay. Ever.
So you never
Except maybe at school, but people, they say, hi, Jew boy. It wasn't done with venom. It was just, because I used to have to go out of the class when we were doing religious studies and things, so it isolated us. But then one of my friends was Roman Catholic, and he had to come out of the class as well, because it was a Church of England thing.
So you never had any racism basically in the UK? Never had anything bad happening to you?
Never, ever. But then, I'm 6'1", an ex-soldier, and I don't take any messing around. Never happens. I've had a very peaceful life.
So you mentioned you traveled to Israel several times, right?
Twice. I went when I was 17 during the school holidays, I was going out there to work on a kibbutz. And the second time was on my honeymoon, actually. We went to Israel. Okay. And what we found when we were in Jerusalem was they talk about Israel being an apartheid country. Yeah. If you go to Jerusalem or you go anywhere in Israel, the Arabs and the Jews live together very happily, and they're all talking to each other and playing.
It's like a misconception, basically.
Totally. It's something put up by these jihadist idiots. And it's all propaganda. It's not true. My wife, who had never been to Israel, had never experienced anything, couldn't believe how friendly everyone was, the Arabs, the Jews, everybody.
So you've been to Israel 2 times? Yeah. So what are the differences, for example, between Israel and the UK, you can point out? It can be like anything.
Obviously a different language. Yes. And it's a far greater mix of people. Because Israelis have come from all over the world. Everyone speaks so many different languages. And I think when Israel was formed in 1948, you had all the people, the survivors of the Holocaust, going there. plus all their relatives and all the people, and lots of Russians going there. So there's an incredible mix of people. It's a phenomenal place. You should go.
About the food,
Jewish food, another matter. Chopped liver, gefilte fish, fish balls. These are all really good. Especially, I mean, I love chopped liver. Oh, do I love chopped liver?
Okay.
With mozza. Oh,
it's easy to find here in the UK. It's easy to find those kind of dishes.
It's not as easy as it used to be. I think Tesco's in Brighton still have quite a bit of kosher Jewish food. There used to be several in Brighton. There used to be several Jewish shops which are no longer there because the Jewish population has dissipated a bit. Tesco still sell it, but I'm going to stop there on the way home.
For all the non-Jewish people, what's kosher exactly? Can you explain a little bit? Yeah.
Kosher is food that has been blessed by the rabbinical society or the rabbinical people. They bless the food, and so it's kosher to eat. So you can eat it.
Did you ever consider living in Israel for good?
No. It's not my country. This is my country. I fought for this country. I've been in this country all my life. Yeah. So no, it's not somewhere I would like to live. I mean, not I wouldn't like to live there, but it's not somewhere I would choose to live. I'm very proud to be British and always have been. If it got to a point where anti-Semitism or it became like Germany in the 30s here, then I would seriously consider moving to Israel. But it'll never do that here. People aren't like that. People aren't that sort of orientated in this country.
And maybe last question. Do you have like any message to the Jewish people watching you? If they want to come to the UK, what would you tell them?
If you want to come to the UK, come. Yeah. It's a great place to live. Always just stand up for the fact that you're Jewish. Don't ever back down from being Jewish because why should you? Just because some swat in Iran says that you shouldn't be here?
Can you present yourself? Like, where are you from and what's your background,
Okay, my name is Fania. Fania Williams, from my first husband, his surname. I was born in Hampstead Garden suburb in London, which is a very Jewish area. After the war, it was quite hard for Jewish children to get into a good school. There was a limit of the number of Jewish children they would take. Right. And the headmistress of my first school said, if your family were prepared to move to Brighton, she knew the headmistress of Brighton, what was then called Brighton and Hove High, is now Brighton Girls. Right. So that's what they did. I'm now a governor of that school, having gone there for 10 years, which is quite nice, yeah. Well, it's just a sort of dedication to the people who saved me, really,
And like, which type of Jew are you? Like, you're like Ashkenazi?
I'm an Ashkenazi. I come from an Orthodox Ashkenazi family. Yeah. My father was born in Romania, but came over when he was about 16. My mother was born in England. She wasn't very religious, but my father was quite strict, but very open to the world. He liked to ask questions, discuss things, and it brought me up to always ask questions, never accept anything, Awesome. That's very Jewish, I think, actually.
When you are Ashkenazi, what does that mean exactly? Can you explain? Yeah.
Come from Eastern Europe, usually. Okay. Sephardis came from South America and other areas, the opposite side of the world, generally. Although obviously there are many from both places. Yeah. We speak the old pronunciation of Hebrew, although modern people also speak the modern pronunciation of Hebrew,
So you are speaking Hebrew yourself as well?
Well, most Ashkenazi Jews learn Hebrew till the age of 13 at least. The boys till their bar mitzvah and the girls till their bat mitzvah if they're going to have it. I was brought up with a very open mind, actually, and I don't think I've ever been out with a Jewish boy, but I only think that
really? That's interesting.
Now I'm 85. When I think back, it wasn't on purpose. It was just I had a very broad view of the world. Awesome. I never asked anyone what they were when I went out with them.
What is it like to be Jewish in the UK?
I don't really notice it, to be honest.
Okay, it's like seamless.
Yes, I'm just a human being. I always have thought that. At the moment, I wear this occasionally because there's quite a lot of anti-Semitism around. So I think I should declare myself Jewish, which I'm quite happy to do. Yeah. And it's a nice piece of jewellery anyway.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What's the reaction of people, for example, when you're telling them that you're Jewish?
I mean, I never go around saying I'm Jewish. If someone asks me, I will say it. I'm very proudly Jewish, Okay. But I'm a human being, exactly like anyone else, I've been to Israel many times because I worked for the airlines. So I was able to travel for free or for 10%. So one of the many places in the world I went to was Israel.
In the UK, have you ever faced, some racism because you were like Jewish?
Not a real bad situation, but I have seen a lot of racism around, yes. Anti-Semitism around, and racism because I married a black lapsed Catholic from South America.
Wow.
And I have 2 black girls, as well as my 2 lovely British boys by Richard, who's sitting over there. Okay? So we're a very diverse family. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we've all met racism. My black girls have been spat upon in London, you know, even when they were 2 and 4. But that's the world as it is. You just have to be proudly who you are, you know.
Do you think it's a bit unsafe sometimes in the UK?
For a lot of Jewish people, it is unsafe, yes. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in Brighton, yeah. And I went to what I suppose you could call a Christian school. I mean, only Christian because most people there were children of Christian families, you know. And we had very separate Jewish prayers, which I was always not afeared to go to. I didn't want to go to. I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be a human being. I wanted to be a human being, and I wanted to be accepted as a human being, and I've always wanted that.
What are the differences between like Israel and the UK, you know, you can point out?
I mean, it's a Middle Eastern country, so it's the differences between the Middle East and Europe. That's one of the things. The climate's better. It's easier to swim in the sea there, it's warmer. And I suppose because it's not where I live, I always have fun there, you know.
Did you ever consider living in Israel?
I definitely did, when things were really bad for Jewish people, when I was a sort of teenager.
Yeah.
And there was lots of sort of easy ways to go and live there. You know,
Okay.
it wasn't expensive. I had lots of friends there. It didn't matter to me where I live because I'm a citizen of the world. And I thought, you know, I can start from here. As always, I love England, you know. I love the UK. And I can travel from here. I can do everything I want from here. Well, if I went to live in Israel, it would be harder.
In which way you think it will be harder for you if you live in Israel?
Idea of what Israel is. And I think presume it's harder to get in and out. There's all the question of visas and all that kind of thing. I wouldn't live anywhere but the UK, I don't think, to live. You know, I brought up my children here. They've been to school here. It's a place you can go anywhere from, really.
As a Jewish woman, do you wear some traditional clothes in your daily life, or like for certain celebration, do you need to wear like some special clothes?
No, I don't cover my head like they would do in a lot of not just Jewish, but Arabs as well in the Middle East. In the UK, men cover their head to go into the synagogue, and women too wear hats.
Okay, when you're going
wear hats, yeah. But it's quite fun because I never wear hats normally, so it's quite fun. I mean, I don't go to the synagogue regularly at all. I don't go at all at the moment. First of all, when I was a child, we used to go every Saturday, which is the holy day. Then I would go just for festivals. Now, very occasionally I'll go for one of the major festivals like Passover.
The day where you are resting, it's called the Sabbath.
The Sabbath.
Sabbath. And what are you doing during that day, you know? What's the rules?
Very religious. I mean, I'm not, and there's not many people that do this, but you mustn't even switch on a light. You mustn't cut with scissors. You mustn't go in a car or any vehicle that someone else has to drive because you're making someone else work on a day of rest.
Do you have a message, you know, for the Jewish people that would maybe want to come to the UK?
Well, the UK is a great place to live, whether you're Jewish, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, whatever you may be. I mean, we're a very diverse country, and it's a great place to live. Look at all this greenery around. It's glorious, At the moment, I'm talking to you in the most beautiful garden with lots of wonderful trees, some quite rare, and a palace over there. That's Brighton. I'd encourage them to come to Brighton. It's a great place to live. And it's by the sea. You can swim.
Not too cold?
Not too cold. Cold? What's cold? No. That's our climate.
Introduce yourself, you know, like where are you from and what's your background, you know?
Okay, so my name's Murray. Originally, I grew up in a place called Gants Hill in Ilford, which at one point had the biggest Jewish population in the whole of Europe.
Wow.
Not anymore, because everyone's moved away. And I moved down to Brighton in about 15, 16 years ago. And this is where I've settled, and this is where I want to stay forever, basically.
And like, which type of Jew are you? You know, you're like Ashkenazi, Sephardic, which type of Jew are you?
I'm Ashkenazi, so my family from all over Europe. We've got Russia, Poland, you name it. I'm a mixture of everything. I think it's from my grandparents. I think they were first, no, not even on one side. They weren't even first generation. One set of grandparents came over, and the others, I think they were second generation in this country. So basically, you go back a few generations and they were all over the place. So it's about a couple of 2 or 3 generations now being in this country.
What it's like being Jewish in the UK, you know, how do you feel being Jewish here?
I love being Jewish. You know, I'm proud of it. I would say I'm culturally Jewish. you know, and I do tend to hang around and go towards other Jewish people because we've all got that thing in common. I suppose we've all come from the same place. We know what it's like to be Jewish. We have the same issues. We have to celebrate the same things. So it's like being in a club together. So I love it. I think it's great to be Jewish. I'd recommend it to everyone.
When you are telling people that you are Jewish, what's their first reaction, you know, when you're telling them, okay, I'm Jewish?
There's some people actually, they're just really intrigued. They want to know more about it because they don't know much about the religion. It's such a minority now. If you've grown up in certain places that doesn't have any Jewish population, they've never met a Jewish person, so they want to know more about it. So they're like I said, they ask questions, they're inquisitive, but not in a bad way. I think it's just they just want to get to know more about it. So I'm more than happy to tell them about what it's like being Jewish.
Being in the UK, have you ever faced some racism, you know? Being Jewish yourself, have you ever had any bad situation or experiences?
When I was younger, yes. I can remember as a teenager I was on a bus and going to school, and some children from another school, as they got off the bus, they were all shouting, Yid, 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 Yid. And I had another bad experience when I used to be a teacher, and I was teaching in a quite tough secondary school somewhere. I won't say where or what. And the children found out I was Jewish. And so, for example, I'd be sitting at the desk and they wrote Jew on the board behind me. They'd pretend to sneeze and say, I'm Jew. They'd shout Jew down the corridor. So I had to put up with that. So sadly, yes, it's just, I have had pockets of anti-Semitism. But on the whole, no, it's been great.
Have you ever lived in Israel, or have you ever traveled to Israel yourself?
I haven't lived there, no. But with everything that's going on recently, the last few years, I have thought maybe in the future I'd like to maybe just go and live there. But I think that's the place that all Jews feel safe. It's like the Jewish country. It's how they would always welcome us. So it has been at the back of my mind. But I think at the moment it's okay. Maybe one day I'd like to live there. But at the moment I'm happy in the UK.
What's the main tradition in the Jewish culture?
Big ones. Well, first of all, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when we have to basically ask forgiveness for all our sins that we've committed over the past year. That's a really important one. Yeah. That's when people would go to synagogue, and they'd also go to synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. So it's the start of the new year, laying the old year to rest and celebrating the new year. So I think they're the two main ones when people, really religious people, would take the days off work to go to synagogue and pray.
What's the meaning of wearing the kippah, you know?
So you wear that to show that there's the men wear that to show there's a higher presence above you, that we respect God. In the same way that we wouldn't write God, G-O-D, we put a dash where the O would be, because we're respecting him so much. So it's just to show that we have respect when we enter a synagogue. So that's why we would always cover our heads.
Some Jewish people, they have a special haircut. What's the meaning of that?
Really religious Jewish men would have the payot, and they'd also have tefillin on their arms, and they'd wear maybe hats, because it's just because they're so religious. That's why they would wear this. In their tefillin that they wear, they'd have the 10 Commandments, so they're always close to God, basically.
The tefillin.
Yeah.
It's like a bracelet. It's like a piece of jewelry, or
it's not. It's jewelry. It's like they have boxes, and there's a special way to put it on. So there's one part goes on your forehead, one on your arm, one on your arm there, and so there. And like I say, there's a special way to put it on. And I've worn it in the past, but it does take a long time to get on. Yeah.
Do you have any message, to all the Jews who are watching you, if they come to the UK? Any message for them,
Say, hello. Yes, if you're Jewish and come to the UK, you'll have a great time. It's very diverse. Lots of lovely people here. There's lots of lovely places to visit. So definitely come to the UK and come and see us.
Awesome.